fuck you, Dad.
We like to just go so we can... But now we stopped.
Yeah.
Oh, we had a good podcast
We already,
going.
we had it. It was already in it.
had
And then
it.
you
We were
addressed
in
it.
it.
And
Yeah.
kind of killed the vibe.
We were like flowing. We were like listening to each other. We weren't
Yeah.
talking over each other.
It was great.
Damn it.
Damn it.
That's all right.
What
edit
was I
this
just
out.
doing? I was doing... I just got back from Minneapolis.
Yeah.
I did a one-nighter, and it was sold out, and I got to close by telling a table to, like, shut the fuck up. Usually when I do that, though, it's like half and half, but this time I kind of... Because it was at the end of my set, so the whole room liked me.
Okay.
And so when I told them to shut the fuck... Everyone was like, yeah! And it was like these really rich... It was a, like, rich Minnesota town, like Lake Town.
Okay.
So it was all these ladies who were like clearly gonna like go on the boat after this, and they drank like 3 bottles of Prosecco, and I was the feature, so it was like, they probably ordered 4, and there was 4 of them total. So that was fun. I never really get to do. I'm not really that kind of comic to, but they were. Talking
I've seen you lose it at shows a little bit.
a little bit.
You
but
just the problem with heckling is you don't believe in yourself enough. Like if
That's-
a heckler's like you suck, you're like you're right.
Yes.
and then
Yeah,
you just
yeah.
quit right there. You need to have some confidence. That you have some reason.
Well,
for
I
being
was
it.
maxed out on because it was like end of the 20-minute set, and I did it without even.
You're in your
sweating,
hometown.
You know? Yeah.
You told a group of people that probably would reject you in high school to fuck off.
Exactly.
That's a big win.
It was fun.
Well, speaking of big wins, we got Jonah Jurkens
Look
on
at
the
that.
podcast this week.
Professionals.
Hell of a transition. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's great.
damn right. Yeah, man. I'm happy to have you on because I heard you had some real interesting crazy dad stories, and that's always like a big plus because I feel like a lot of
Yeah.
people are like, I love my dad. He was wacky. Or different
we got a lot
pants.
of
And I
those.
just heard he's like, no, he was something.
Oh yeah, my dad was great. He's
Yeah.
amazing. What do you want to hear? So what is this podcast? I don't even know.
We just.
Not saying I've never heard of it. I just
We
what's
talk
the-
dads. We talk about
talk
like
dads?
like how.
Is
or-
this a dead dad podcast?
No, just could
Okay.
be just funny dad stories.
Just funny dad stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool.
They
Yeah.
can be dead.
Oh, this motherfucker's dead. And both he died a while ago. But it's not like it was a sad death, but it's not like a sad thing. My dad was like so interesting because, so my parents were heroin addicts growing up.
Oh, wow.
Like, hardcore. Yeah. And it's always hard to like jump into this.
No, my dad has schizophrenia. We do.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, I tell some jokes about it.
Yeah.
We've talked about it a lot on the podcast.
When did you realize this guy's crazy?
So that's a question I wanted to ask you. So
Okay.
I had there were some pretty heavy signs when I was in like 4th and 5th grade because he was like fine before then. I think it just whatever psychotic break happened around
Right.
then, and like he. He started parking the car at the police station because he's like, well, the neighbors, they think the car is too trashy. We have to park it at the police station.
Whoa.
We, like walk 3 miles. So, and then he started being like, people at school, they're going to start talking about, he just worked at Kroger. And
Yeah.
he's like, there's a whole, everyone in my Kroger's against me. Everyone's got, this, and I'm just like, well, how bad are you at stalking fruit?
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
a conspiracy. And then he stole the family car to go work at an anarchist bookshop in Canada, and he just kind of dropped that casually. Like I called him to ask where dinner is,
Yeah.
and he's like, I'm in Ohio.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I took the car. He's like, I'm trying to follow my dreams. I
Yeah.
understand why everyone's mad at me.
There is not a huge difference between a schizophrenic and like a drug addict that's been doing it for 50 years.
Well, because
For
it's
sure.
all
I have
just
so
mental illness that's so self-centered.
Yeah, I have.
Where you're like,
yeah.
what? Why is everyone mad at what? But the real moment, because I was like, you're a kid, so whatever your parents are doing, you have nothing to compare it to. So you're like, I
Right.
guess this is normal. But the moment I truly realized, like, oh, there's no one at the helm here, was we were like at a grocery store. And he was just walking around, and there was a fat balding guy, and he's like, you see that guy? They put him out. They put those people out to make you feel insecure about how you look. So he just said that out loud to a poor man
Yeah.
in a grocery store. And then there's like some hot women walk by. He's like, and then they put those people out to try to like get you to cheat on your wife. So he's just like accusing random people at this grocery store of being like props.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
some
There's
sort
some
of like there's a
conspiracy.
CIA van where they're just throwing random people out to fuck with weird
There's
insecurities.
crisis actors and non-crisis actors.
Crisis act, yeah, it's not a crisis, but they are actors.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized, like, because before I'm like, maybe he's right, because they're very convincing. You're like, well, fuck, maybe someone's
Right.
after you.
And they're
But
your dad.
They're your dad. So
you
you're
wanna
like, well,
believe-
who else do
yeah.
I? Yeah, but that moment I was like, oh, you're gone. I was just like, okay, this is gonna be a tough life.
Yeah.
It's like this.
I
Yeah.
gotta pretend a lot to listen to this.
I was
guy.
just like, oh, you're gone.
Yeah.
You're bananas. I was just like, okay. I just saw the vacancy sign behind his eyes, and I'm like, okay, it took you.
Yeah. Is
Yeah.
he still around?
Yeah, he is.
Okay.
Yeah, he is. He's we have blocked his number recently, but he's still around.
You have to from time to time.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, see, my dad. So my mom was always really honest with me. I always knew. Well, we ran away from my dad when I was 3, and then she's always been honest with me with the situation because she basically she cleaned up, and so then we kind of ran away. Then he was on the run for a while. He was in and out of jail a lot, and he found some stripper girlfriend that was missing teeth up front that he loved, and she ended up being on the FBI's most wanted list.
That is
that's big time.
That's big time.
Yeah. And then he would flee to Mexico for a little bit, and then he would.
Naturally.
I think your dad is who my dad wanted to be.
I know.
I think my dad was an open micer version of your dad.
Yeah.
Because your dad's the headliner. He's actually dating someone who the FBI wants.
They actually are tapping his phone.
Yeah, the government's after him.
Yeah.
My dad aspires to be that guy. My dad is, he's nobody in the realm of people who are listening. Or
your dad's oh man, I just got to work with this. I worked with this crazy guy in the weekend. Comedians were I just opened up.
Yeah.
It's insane.
He's man, he's fleeing to Mexico. He's doing everything right. If I really work on destroying my family, I can be there in 3 to 5 years.
And then I visited him. He kind of came back in my life when I was 15 because he was in jail in Latuna, which is predominantly Hispanic, black, and he just got I met people that have been in jail with him, and I guess a bunch of people steal his shoes all the time, and he just got completely he got the shit kicked out of him all the time. Ugh. And because he's he's just this little dorky guy, and he got into steroids during that time, so he ended up being kind of a big dude. And then
got to.
Yeah. And then I visited him.
No one's you know what? I'm gonna get skinnier.
Here's how great my dad is. At this is this might make you remind you of your dad a little bit. I was gonna go visit him. I haven't seen him. Maybe 15. I haven't seen him since I was maybe 5 or 6. It's been a while, and we were on the phone, and then my mom's you excited to see your son? And he goes, yeah, I'm excited as long as he's not fat or has short hair, because my dad was a hippie and he worked out a lot. And
it's such a weird combination.
Well, here's the thing.
The hippies we're not judgmental, and he's yeah.
Well, I was a fat kid with a flat top. So I was so embarrassed to meet my dad, and he's in jail. Do you know what I mean? Where I'm afraid he's not going to accept me. And I guess my dad.
So a lot of projecting.
Yeah. We show up at the jail. We do all the sign-in stuff. He comes out. He's the only one in an orange jumpsuit with cuffs around him. And I guess supposedly he got sent to the hole a week or 2 before because they found a picture of like an aerial view, almost like a map of the jail, and they thought that he's trying to escape, even though he only had a month left, or a few months left. But I guess what he was trying to do is he was trying to send it to his dad and be oh, this is where I go to jail. He's
it's a picture of the campus,
right? This is where the library is.
Yard,
he was circling things this is where the library is, and this is he's a kid trying to make his dad proud of him.
Those aren't tunnels. Those are just my walkway. That's what I do.
Yeah, and then he hugs my mom.
Yeah,
I didn't realize this. My mom told me later. They've been divorced forever. He pinches her tit right afterwards, just because he hasn't had a female touch in a while.
Yeah.
So he's pop, right on there.
Still a weird.
Plus, you're not learning boundaries in prison.
No.
You're not getting better at respecting people.
No, and then he got out of jail. Then he moved to Albuquerque for the family business, and then a few years after
nothing
that,
good happens in New Mexico.
No.
Yeah,
which is crazy. I don't know if you know this. So my family's business is Octopus Car Wash. This is the crazy connection here. It's Octopus Car Wash. Octopus Car Wash is where they taped Breaking Bad.
That is what?
Yeah. So that
car wash that Walter White
the
worked.
A1. They have an A1 day or A1A.
Yeah.
A1A,
like
I think it was called, and that's an Octopus Car Wash, which is crazy because it ended up being run by a meth head. It was my dad, right?
Yeah. That is so wild.
Yeah.
You're the real life breaking. Hey, Walter White's son ends up okay.
Yeah.
He ends up a comedian in Chicago.
Yeah. That's my dad's thing was that. And then he went, and my mom thought it was a good idea. My dad thought it was a good idea. Is I flew to Albuquerque. He was moving to Madison, Wisconsin. I'm from Wisconsin.
Okay.
And I had to fly. I flew down to Albuquerque, and I'm 16, 17. And I'm 15. I met him when I was probably 13. So then I drive back. I help him move from Albuquerque to Madison, and I have to be stuck in this big rig and then he's going to give me his car when I turn 16, which is like this 1988 Mazda MX-6, and that's being tailed behind. So I basically have to do like a cross-country road trip with my drug-addicted dad.
Yeah.
And who at that time's like he's kind of sober, but he's like struggling a little bit. He's not too fucking whacked
Also,
out.
sometimes when it's been like a long time, even if they could be clean and still insane.
Look, this guy's
Yeah.
he's like that, like a comedian here in Chicago named Sean Flannery has this book, places that his whole thing is like for a while there he like thought he was indestructible because he almost died so many times. That's my dad.
Yeah.
My dad thought he was like indestructible. So we were driving, and there's a moment where he liked like summer sausage. So he's driving this thing. I mean, it's like a 20-foot truck. He's driving it with his knee while he's cutting pieces of meat to put on a cracker with cheese. And it's like this, like that.
Like we could kill a whole bunch of people.
Yeah,
right now.
and then so later on that day, I'm like, what's going on with this truck? I look over and he's like slowly falling asleep. And I go, Dad, maybe we should pull over. And he goes, I'm good. I go, Dad, I don't know, you're getting kind of sleepy. He goes, oh, I know when to stop. And I go, okay. He goes, you want to know why? And I go, yeah. And then he pulls out this picture out of his wallet, and it's a picture of a car where the roof is smashed down to the door. And he goes, this is the last time I fell asleep at the wheel. I flipped this thing 4 times. And he flipped
Why
it.
is he proud of that? Why did he pull it out like a fishy car?
Because he's like, I walked away with no scars.
Oh my God.
But I just know, I know when my limits are. It's funny because he's been in like so many motorcycle accidents. He was in so many. I had from that moment on, almost every year I had to like say goodbye to my dad. So I was like so used to having to be like, well, your dad's gonna die tomorrow. Like I had a lot of those moments.
Yeah.
And so that was my trip there, which is crazy because that's kind of how my mom met my dad. I was thinking of all these stories on the way here.
Yeah.
And my mom met my dad in 2 different. First time she comes to his house. So my dad's from Madison. They met in college.
Mm-hmm.
He's this like notorious partier. He's like a partier that just went too far with it.
Yeah.
And same thing with my mom. Like my mom would drink like. She would drink like a 5th of vodka before she would start her day. Like that's just kind of like what she would do.
That's not even a party. That's just
sad.
Yeah.
Oh no! I mean, this girl
that's
was
just
like,
alcoholism. Yeah.
Oh no!
Like, whoa, The Office. I mean, 5th is like you're on the ground vomiting. Yeah.
No, see, she has like so I don't get hangovers, and my mom didn't get hangovers either. I mean, I guess she was like next level, like one of the best drunks you've ever seen. Because she got sober when I was 3, so I never really saw this side of her.
You say kind of like you're bummed out. You're like, I wish I could have seen her in action.
Like,
you're like, I just got sober when I was 3. I couldn't see slam the 5th, take the kids to school.
It's frustrating.
Yeah.
Because like I didn't know that families got drunk together until I started dating. Because like my family never drank in front of my mom because of that.
Right.
And
getting drunk together as a family is pretty.
Oh my God, I've gotten blackout drunk with my girlfriend's parents. I didn't know that was a thing. It's like so much fun. I'm like, man, I wish I could have seen how cool my mom was.
It's the only time you get along with your girlfriend's parents.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so when they first started dating, my dad was like, hey, come back. It's the wintertime. He had this Porsche at the time. And he was like, hey, come to my house. And she's like following him. And he's like one of those drivers that never looks back to see where the guy following you is.
Sure.
Where he just kind of takes off. And you're like, I can't, there's icy roads out here.
Yeah.
And then my mom like takes this corner, because it's in Madison, so it's kind of a rural area. He takes this corner, and then his Porsche is flipped upside down.
Oh my God.
Because he took a corner too quick and it's scud out. And then
Hey,
just
This guy's been in like 15 accident. Yeah.
And then the second story that she told me is like, and by the way, my mom's like, cool guy. Like,
yeah, I mean,
no red flags here.
Pretty cool. I mean, was he just standing outside the car like, hey, we'll fix it later?
Yeah, basically, like, you got to give me a ride home now. Like, it's probably his way of being like, I can't go anywhere. You got to stay here.
Yeah.
Like,
I
need a ride in the morning. And
life of the party, for sure. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And so the second time is he's a big, like, motorcycle guy, like Harley guy. Mm-hmm. And she was on the back of his bike, and they're driving somewhere. I don't know. This is like a couple weeks in the relationship, and the bike breaks down. He pulls off into like some yard, not yard, like a farm thing, whatever. And and it's dark out at night, and then he's like, hey, let me just look and see if I can do here. And he like lights a lighter, and he's trying to figure out what's going on with the bike, not knowing that there is a gas leak happening.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and he lights it on fire, and then my mom he just saw her running. He goes, Jill, you gotta run, and they run away, and the bike explodes.
Oh my God.
He's like that guy.
It just sounds like he's cursed. It just
sounds like
I mean, that
guy.
is a bad idea for a flashlight around a vehicle that's crapped out.
Full of
You're like, wait, let me see if I smell propane.
Yeah.
Is that what I smell? Oh, it is what I smell. I'm right.
Yeah, that's so wild.
Yeah, that's like his.
Can't imagine being attracted to someone after, like, you see them total a car, explode their motorcycle, and you're like, man, there's just something about
Let's let him crash my life.
Yeah. Put a baby in me. Let's see what happens there.
Yeah, he's just like.
What happened on that road trip?
We ended up getting home.
Yeah,
but it's crazy how he wanted to be a dad. This is before he decided that like. I was really upset with my dad for a while, around that time. It's like when you want a father figure there.
Yeah.
And he was trying to be a father figure. And then, we had some falling outs. He kind of came back in my life when I was 22. And that's when I was like, I like had that realization where it's like, okay, this guy's not going to change, right? He's never going to get sober. So like, I either need to accept him for what he is and just realize it's not changing and like all that goes along with that, or I just need to say, fuck you. And I need him out of my life,
Yep.
So and then I think he kind of around that same time was like, I'm just going to treat this guy like a person instead of like a son. Cause like, I never respected him as a dad. It's like,
no, the dad stuff's gone.
He's like, you know what I always want, you know what you should do? I'm like, tell me what not to do. Cause that's what got you in all this trouble. Just be like, don't have a knife on you.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, like this is what you do. That's what my dad too. So the first time I came back into my dad's life, we're in Madison. And I'm like talking with him, and we're like walking through the like State Street area, and he just opens the door and he goes, "Hey, go up there." And I'm like, "What's in there?" He's just, "Go up there." And I'm like, I don't know. And he's just like, I go, "What the fuck's up there?" You just go up there, look around, and walk down. And I'm like, "What is? Just tell me what's in there." He goes, "Oh, this is a whorehouse." He's like, "This is where all the state guys go and whatever." Which I later found out my dad like loved, like his favorite thing. And but he's just like that guy where he's just like,
Okay, he's like, I'm gonna show my son the old whorehouse.
Yeah,
it's be a big day. See if you can.
Whoa! Because like when he got really bad, see that was the nice thing. My mom and him always had this weird connection because she just accepted him too.
Yeah.
So he'd be honest with her, and then my mom went to me once and was like, "Hey, just let you know, my dad's name is Jeff." He's like, "Just let you know, like Jeff's probably gonna move to Mexico." And I was like, "Well,
it's a nice way to move."
But here's the thing.
Definitely not running.
Well, at the time, see, he also bought. There's so much information in 30 minutes. He also bought a Russian bride online.
No way.
Which was my stepmom, my mamushka.
Yeah.
Named Irina, who's one of the worst people I've ever met in my whole entire. I mean, the absolute worst.
It's also a dark sentence. Like, so he brought a person online.
Well, it wasn't. I mean, technically,
once you get shipped, I think you deserve to be a little crabby. But if you've ever been shipped to be bought, I think you could be a little.
It's crabby. Like more of like this, like because his whole thing was like everybody in Wisconsin and all these girls are just fat and bitches, and I'm like, I think it's you, Dad. And
always the most toxic men who are like, oh, I need someone who's a real,
Yeah, he just won't admit that he looked like, by the end there, he looked like, remember E.T. dying at the end? His body was the same shape because it was destroyed, and he just was like, E.T., like, it was just insane. And so it was like a website that you'd meet these Russian women, but his whole... He's a better guy than this makes it sound like, but his whole thing was like, oh, like Russian men treat their women like shit, so if you're just nice to them, they love you forever. Like that was his.
Not a bad argument.
I mean, he's like, well, if you're just mild decency.
But my mom's like, he's gonna like leave her and go and run to Mexico, and he wanted to start some like. He wanted to start some business where he sells porn out of a van. I don't know.
I love how he's like, this is the big thing that'll change my life. I'm going to go to Tijuana.
And he then
sell porn out of the back of a car.
She goes, he fell in love with this transvestite hooker he met down there. And I'm like, okay. And then I was like, transvestite. And this is like, this is like still when it was kind of like new to the lexicon. And I was like, transvestite. And my mom goes, yeah. I guess he's always been a little squishy. Which is like he's always kind of like was he bi, was he not?
Yeah. There.
But squishy is such a cute word.
That's a very cute word.
Yeah, he's always been a little squishy. And I'm like, all right, okay, cool. But it's
he's seen some stuff.
Yeah,
he's been around. You can't be like, no, I'm strictly straight. Once you've seen death that many times.
Yeah, so it's like always stories like that. Like it was just insane. This guy's the most.
Did he ever? When did you start doing comedy?
14 years ago. I should be better than I am. Like it's been 2008-ish.
Was
when I
he
moved
still
down
around?
Here. Yeah, he was still around here.
Did he ever get to see you do stand up or anything?
He
like that?
saw my first set ever, and he
Whoa.
was super proud. Yeah,
that's a lot.
He was super like go for your goals. I love it, and he saw clips of mine when I would do jokes about him. He didn't get mad about it. He thought it was kind of because I was all because I don't have hate towards him. Like,
no.
He's just the most insane person.
Yeah.
it's crazy. Like that's my biggest regret is I didn't sit down and have this because I always wanted to write a book about him, and like it just never really happened. Because he sold his car washes, he got into like some money, and then he just like went off the fucking deep end. Because he goes, this is gonna sound real dark, but he was on methadone and he really wanted to quit. But he's one of those guys that like when he would quit, he would go to like rehab and then he'd like leave early and be like, I was teaching the counselors what they were doing wrong. You know, like he's like one of those guys. He's like, everyone else circled around me because I was so good. And I'm like, okay, Jeff. And he got addicted to like methadone. And then
I won rehab. I beat
I beat it. Yeah. I went to go.
I get it. Yeah. I get the whole thing.
Yeah,
I haven't been able to pull it off for 30 years.
Yeah,
but I 14 days.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
And then there's like some experimental drug in Mexico that like will make you kick it. Like it makes you so sick from drugs that like you just want to quit drugs. I guess.
Right?
Maybe, I don't know. Is that what it's called?
Where you like trip for like 4 days.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Ibogaine. Yeah.
Okay.
So the people use it to quit like smoking and stuff.
Yeah. So the problem is that it's harder to. I guess what she was saying is that it's more dangerous to go cold turkey off methadone than is heroin. So she was like, you need to switch to heroin. And he's telling me the story, and he's just like, so I need to switch to heroin. And I'm like,
for my health?
Yeah.
Well, who's this expert? Just some woman on the street?
Some woman in Mexico.
Yeah, I don't think that's... Yeah. I don't think any doctor would be like, well, actual drug given to you by, like, the government or street heroin. I don't think that's... Yeah.
She's like, I can actually sell you heroin right now.
Yeah. Seems a little bit... Seems like a good marketing pitch.
It's just her sister job, it's her sister business. And that's when he switched to that, and then he was dead within a year after that. That's basically... yeah. I mean, it happens, but it's just like... It's just crazy how open they get with it, too. Where he would, like... The week before he passed away, he was like, you need to go... He did a YouTube dive. And he found out... Yeah, he found out that it's easier to get heroin on the East Coast. So then,
what YouTube dive was it?
I don't know.
What statistics is he looking at? Also, they seem to be doing okay.
I think you're pretty good everywhere.
I've been to LA, and it seems like they've got some heroin over there. So they do okay.
Yeah, but this is supposed to be cleaner. Yeah. Like it's supposed to be. I don't know. Yeah. And then he wanted me to go with him and to like help him get heroin.
What? Like a
father-son bonding
on a road trip to go get heroin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Well, one last ride.
Okay, so. Is that okay? This is just stories straight up?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, everyth's fine.
I don't want to take away your time.
Yeah.
No.
Dude, believe in yourself. It's all good.
I don't know.
I like Kenyon turns into this Tony Is it Tony Robbins? Is that guy?
Yeah.
You should be that guy now. You should totally turn around. You should tell people to believe in themselves and have a dumb little, like, one of these mics.
Instead of, like, fuck you, and I'm like, believe in yourself.
Yeah. Hey, buddy. Pick yourself up.
Oh, you're not interesting enough to hate yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, you kind of like neg people into positivity.
That's kind of the thing.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's a real mystery podcast over here. Did you ever watch that show?
Mystery podcast?
No, you just mentioned negging, and that's off of this book, which then turned into a TV show called The Pickup Artist.
No,
Yeah, it's the greatest show of all time. It's
I'm just familiar
very
with the
problematic, but it is insane. Like, it's about this ex-magician who's super tall and, like, gangly, and he teaches a bunch of dorks how to pick up women in bars.
Oh, okay.
But he does it, like, in the most, like, shittiest...
Scumbag.
Yeah.
Well, once you said magician, I knew exactly what kind of guy you were talking about.
He's part of, like, that pickup artist, like...
Yeah, like fedora.
Yeah. Peacocking. A lot of open...
It's also, like, it's never, like, have a personality.
No.
Wear deodorant. Like, it's not, like, it's pretty basic stuff.
No, it's like, you start with a false time constraint, like...
Yeah. No, like
you never talk to anyone like straight on. You talk to somebody like you're like, hey, I gotta get out of here in a second, but did you see that guy over there? Like it's always like that.
I think I used to have a old podcast called See You and Help, and we reviewed bad self-help, and we read a lot of those.
Did you really?
Yeah, one of them was like, oh, my helicopter's waiting for me.
Yeah.
Some shitty guy in a bar, and you're like, yeah, my helicopter's waiting. Like, it's like, you open, like, oh, that's, those are great shoes. Really takes away from, like, your crooked eyes or something.
Right.
Oh, my God.
And then oh, my helicopter. Because it's like, you're just trying to manipulate somebody
like
into
most girls,
mildly
most girls wouldn't fit, most girls couldn't pull off that shirt, but you're like, yeah, you do.
Yeah, like that's
that.
pretty much.
Yeah,
That's
and then
pretty
you're like,
much.
what's the matter? Introducing your friend. Like, you can take this girl out, but you can't bring her anywhere, right? You're, like, you can dress her up, but you can't bring her in. Like, stuff like that. Where
Yeah.
it's like
It's all
you're opening up
psychotic.
2 sets, and it's all about IOIs, which is indicators of interest, and like Kino, which is touch. You touch
You know
a lot.
a lot about
I've
this.
watched this
Yeah,
show.
you're saying.
I have watched this
I'm
show.
making fun of it, but you're like, you're saying acronyms right now.
I'm just an AFG man. I'm just an average frustrated guy. You know, like I can open up a 4-set. I can do a high value target, which is a stripper. That's a high value target. That's like next level pickup shit right there.
All right, this is
I watch these seasons every single year.
We're in
I've watched
incel
there's
territory right
3
now.
seasons.
Well,
and
as soon as we're describing people's high value assets, as soon as we're talking about people like real estate,
it's the funniest. It's just so insane. And at the end of the show, the guys are just like, I just want to meet the woman I love so much, and it's just like they're just guys that just want to meet a girl and they just don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So then this guy's like, you got to get gauges in your ears. You know, you
gotta
got to wear a
change-
scarf.
First
like,
of all, change everything.
learn magic. You know, you got to get really into cocaine. Like, it's just.
cocaine probably will help you get laid.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the last part. I mean,
but it's the greatest show. But segue into my dad. So my dad got cancer, throat cancer, which I think it's the same way Michael Douglas did. I'm pretty sure. And he flew to Phoenix to get to the Mayo Clinic there, and my whole family is like, we can't take care of him anymore. Can you? We just can't be around him. And I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? And I fly down there, and the first thing I do, he got kicked out of all the hotels, so he's staying in this kind of seedy hotel.
Okay.
And I go to the hotel. I'm like, oh, this is kind of a bad area. And then like I open up the door, and there's my dad, and then he has a big screen TV in front of the television on a table, and he's opening up surround sound stuff. And then I go, what the fuck is going on here? And he goes, oh, I always wanted to see what a 3D TV looked like. This is when 3D TVs first came out.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, and I heard the surround sound's really nice. I'm like, what? How did you pick this up? Because he had his epiglottis taken out because of throat cancer, and he's on a feeding tube too. And
Oh my God.
yeah, and he looks like shit. And so he's barely like walking around.
and
I'm like,
TV.
I go, what
everything's
do you,
working out.
Yeah, like, what do you do?
I
Like,
know my family
he's
won't
like-
talk to me or deal with me anymore, but I'm gonna see what a fucking TV looks like in 3D.
but then he also
It
goes,
almost sounds like my family's here. He just puts on family movies.
yeah, well, the best thing is he goes, did you know that Netflix is streaming? And that's how I found out it was streaming, was because of this trip. And it was like the first iteration of it.
Oh wow.
And then he goes, well, I can just return it. I look at the receipt. I go, Dad, this was like 30 days ago. You have 14 days to return this. And he goes, oh, I guess I ate that. I'm like, Jesus Christ. And he
Don't
is
spend
just
it all before
like,
I get some of it.
I mean, he's so fucked up. I have to take him to the hospital to have a visit with his. First off, he orders pizza. And I'm like, are you in a feeding tube? He goes, I'm so sick of like not eating. I need to figure this out. And we order pizza, and then he like so the epiglottis is gone, and that's what stops like it going from like your throat or your airway.
Right, that's the divider,
So
yeah.
the problem is like if there's nothing there, you could get food in your lungs,
Yeah.
and you could get an infection and die, right? So he's like trying to figure this out. So he's like biting it, and he's like kind of like shifting his throat like this for it to go down, and he's like eating it. I don't know how he does it. He does. And
That is wild.
Yeah, we take him to the doctor the next
Like
day.
a sword swallower.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just a guy that just kind of figured it out. And we took him
Yeah.
to the hospital the next day. I took him to meet with the doctors, and then they're like, "All right, we're going to start therapy for you to like learn how to swallow." And he goes, "I figured it out." and I've never seen a doctor been like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, I figured it out last night." And he goes, "Jeff, it takes people like weeks or months to figure that out." He goes, "I just kind of did it." And he's like, "Well, I still think you need to do that."
Yeah.
And then he goes, "We need to talk about a real important thing." And before he does that, he's on his computer the whole time. And I wonder what he's looking up. And then he goes, "I went through my painkillers already." And the doctor's like, "You went through all those painkillers already?" And then he's like, "You know my past. You know my tolerance is bigger. So I need another one." And he goes, I can't do that. I can't prescribe you that." And he goes, "My tolerance is higher than everybody. I just need more than most. I promise you I'm not overdoing it." And then he goes, and he looks
Probably telling the truth.
yeah,
to be honest.
I know.
Yeah.
And he looks straight at me, like the doctor. I'm like, I don't fucking know what to do. I didn't know this was happening.
Yeah.
And then my dad goes, "Well, here's the thing," and he gives all these reasons why, because he looked him up on
Yeah,
Google.
yeah.
And the doc, I see that I've never seen this in person. The doctor goes, okay, Jeff, I'll do this one time. I'm like, that's how you get somebody into doing that the first time. Right, and then he goes.
He's a PowerPoint, and this is why I deserve more Oxy. Step 1, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Step 2,
right?
They just released Succession season 4 on HBO.
I just bought this 3D TV. I'm gonna enjoy it.
Yeah, listen, Avatar's a thing I've heard. And then he goes. Then the guy goes, "How's
surround sound, Nirvana soundtrack? Are you picking up what I'm saying?"
Right. Yeah. And it was just like I've never seen a doctor just broken down like that. It was so because he was so. My dad was so
being pushed back.
Well, drug addicts. I mean, he was a heroin addict for 50 years.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
You're trying to sell yourself and everybody around,
and it's always somebody else's fault.
It's always somebody else's fault.
So I had to live in his world for a little bit, and it was crazy. And like we went to different Walgreens while I got that. After he got the prescription, we went to different Walgreens because he was like, "Is this generic?" Whatever that drug was or not.
I'm trying to get the top shelf
he's
stuff.
like, that's not strong enough. And he's like, we gotta go. And then I would have to like go to a different Walgreens.
Oh, that
Can you
drives
imagine
me
just
insane.
a guy being like, you're getting 100 Oxycontin like 80s. You're like, yeah, not strong enough.
Yeah.
Like, this is enough to kill everyone who works here.
Yeah, I'm good. And he goes, so also I didn't realize this till later. He was taking horse tranquilizers at the same time.
Oh, like ketamine?
Yeah. And because I found like all that shit in the bathroom. Because one night we're sitting there and we're like watching like I don't know something on Netflix. It was back when like Netflix had like cool shit. You know, we were watching like Cropsy or some weird documentary. And
a movie from the 50s you never heard of.
Yeah, right. And then he's just like he's like falling asleep. Right, and I'm looking over. I'm like, oh Jesus! And then he goes, and he wakes up. I didn't realize he fell asleep while he was trying to put like Ensure in his feeding tube, and he must have spilled. So bile is just coming out of this tube.
Jesus!
Yeah, you can borrow some of those horse tranquilizers after that.
Yeah. So then he stands up and he's like running around, and it's just spewing like fucking everywhere. And then somehow he covers it up. I have to like clean it up. It smelled terrible.
No,
but to live in that's his new world where these are normal things that a man has to go through.
Shit tube fell out all over.
Yeah, and then
got all over the surround sound.
So I was like, I find out my friends were in Las Vegas, and I'm like, I gotta fucking go to Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So then I get tickets there, and he goes, "Wait, you're going?" I'm like, "Dad, I gotta go. Like, my friends are at this like bachelor party or something. I gotta go." And he goes, "Where are you going to like Las Vegas?" He goes, "I'll come with." And I was like, "Dad, I don't think you're okay." He goes, No, I gotta come with. He goes, "Actually, I have a girl over there that takes care of me." And he goes, "I'll make sure she takes care of you." I'm like, I don't think so.
I don't. Right after.
And I was like, "Is that one of those type of trips?" And then I go home.
I would love to see him at a slot machine just pouring margaritas into his feeding tube.
He's like, "This is a lot quicker, brother.
Yeah.
I can talk while I get drunk."
Yeah, this is great. Yeah.
And then he goes, I'll finish this part of the story up. He ends up, I end up going home, and then he has to like, he gets kicked, like, I find out later that later on he has to buy 2 new rent-a-cars because he doesn't get insurance in the car. And one is he drives it somewhere and then he loses it,
so
and he can never find it.
Yeah,
he can never find it. So he has to get another Uber. Like, he has to get another car as before Uber, and then I don't know something. He has to end up buying that car or whatever. I don't know how it worked out, or whatever money he has to put down for it. And then he decides he wants to go to Albuquerque, where he's from, while he's out there for cancer treatments because I guess that's where his connection for the drugs are.
Okay.
Which I later find out. But he has nobody to like take care of his shit, so he hires a homeless couple to live in this hotel with him,
with the big screen TV,
and everything. And then to like, he's like, if you need to go get groceries, here's the car, whatever you need to do. And then he leaves, and then he comes back, and everything is stolen along with the car.
Yeah. Why would they?
Yeah.
Like, what's he giving them? Like $100 a day, or instant $5,000 right there?
No clue.
They're staying at the fucking Marriott after that.
And this is my dad.
I think he just wanted
to teach me how to live.
That's the one thing. Is like, it's all just okay. I got to figure it out on my own. Yeah. And then you have a mom, but then they're busy being a mom, so you're just kind of open micing everything.
Oh yeah, just kind of figuring it out, man. I'm just doing enough sets with him, and I'll figure it out.
Yeah. A lot of trial and error, and mostly error.
Yeah, really learning my own voice here.
Yeah, truly. Yeah, just being a person.
He just has he has so many fucking stories that are like that are just this like, it's like almost like it's a bad movie, but the movie Yes Man, where he just says yes to everything. And
that's like my dad too. He just went to Africa once, and his parents really before he went to met my mom. He just decided to go to Africa, no reservations, no plans, just came with a briefcase went to the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and then he was like talking to people on the plane, like, so do you have anywhere to stay? Or he's like, no, I just wanted to, and so he just stayed with his family, met on the plane, because they're like, you're gonna get fucking killed or something.
Yeah.
It's like, because it's like he just randomly dipped to Africa, and he was like, because he read like a Joseph Campbell book about like you get to the center of yourself, man.
Yeah.
And so it's just like in the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
I just can't believe they let somebody on a plane who's like, I'm just going to find myself, and they're like, no luggage, you're going to Africa, just a briefcase,
and all this in there is a book of Eat, Pray, Love. He's just sitting there,
like,
he's like, all right,
you're gonna like kill yourself on the airplane or something weird.
Yeah, no, it was very. Yeah, he just like, I just went.
But the confidence of those people, man, because like they're so delusional, but it's real to them. Like,
it is real, yeah,
dude. So when I first moved here, I was a manager at a gym, and I worked at this gym in Evanston, and
horrible place.
Yeah, Evanston.
I hate Evanston.
Is that where you're from?
No, I just went there for a doctor's appointment 4 months ago, and I still hate it.
Go to Chicago Joe's. Chicago Joe's Great Wings. What happened to you? This is another story.
Evanston is like it's like a nice suburb.
Yeah, it's like a cute little town.
I just hated it. I was in a bad place, and I had a bad time there. And I hate it. I fucking hate that place. Saw these rich kids just bullying the shit out of these people that work at Starbucks.
You know they put them there.
Huh?
They put them there.
Yeah,
they put the rich kids there to make you.
It's a good callback. Like, God damn it! It's all good. Just in a side, a straight jacket, and a psych ward.
So I'm working out this guy. I'm working out this like person because I'm head of personal training sales, and I have to you have to sell people. It's a shitty ass job, but I'm 26 or something, and this guy comes in and he's in a full suit, but the suit's kind of like disheveled a little bit.
Yeah.
He looks a little, but he's like looking me up and down and going, all right, okay, cool. And I was like, is corporate supposed to come today? And then I'm like, oh, corporate must be here. And then I went to everybody. I'm like, is corporate coming? And they're like, yeah, I heard they might show up. I'm like, dude, I think they're here. They didn't say hi to me or anything. So I'm like, I go back and I'm like, all right, this is what you do. Like, trying to look back at. I'm like, look how great of a manager I am. Like, so nervous because I have never met corporate before. I'm kind of new to this position. And then later on, I look over and the guy in the suit is on like a workout bike, and he's like, whoo. And he's clapping and stuff, and I'm like, man, that guy takes his job seriously. He has a workout in that suit, because he's so confident. I'm like, whatever. And then I find out, and then two guys come in later, and they're like, hey, we have an escapee from the mental hospital. And it ends up being an escapee from a mental hospital.
Wow.
That for 3 hours I thought was my manager, where I was so nervous to talk to him because
there's nothing more scary than a disheveled suit. I think that's worse than like jeans or whatever at a gym, but something about because he just picked that up somewhere off the ground,
and it takes a while to put on a suit.
Yes,
It shows effort was there at one point.
Yeah,
it's gone.
yeah. Well, Jonah, thank you so much for coming on, man. Do you have
thanks,
anything
man. Sorry I took over all your time.
Well,
so many stories.
That's what the podcast
is.
Yeah,
great, man.
Yeah, man.
I think we have to have a part 2, to be honest.
Yeah.
Oh man, we could have a 5 and 6.
Yeah,
it's
we'll get
insane.
Do you have anything to plug before you head on out?
This is gonna be a weird transition, but I run a show called Blackout Diaries.
Hell yeah! No, it's a perfect transition.
Yeah, which is a story
continuing your father's legacy.
Yeah, it's like a drinking storytelling show. That's we have a podcast, but it's also here at the Lincoln Lodge where you're taping this every Friday at 10 o'clock, and then I have another podcast with another comedian named Joe Kilgallen called Let's Get Dumb, which is we just released it. And it's pretty fun, and it's just
that'll be fun.
Us talking about how stupid we are, And I got him. We're at episode 1. I got him so mad that he left the podcast midway through episode 7. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, he quit the podcast halfway through. He's back.
We'll listen to that. We'll listen to him fall apart.
Oh, it's the best.
I've made him angry at a poker table too, and it's very funny.
Yeah, I spent episodes getting into this point. It happened 2 episodes sooner than I wanted to, but I was like, fuck yeah.
Psychological experiment.
Yeah, I wonder where I got that from, huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. We've been a great guest, man. Happy
I really appreciate it. This is fun.
Yeah, no problem, dude. And come out to the Lincoln Lodge every goddamn night of the week.
Yes, and the live show May 19th.
Yes.
Lincoln Lodge.
Yeah.
Joey Villa Gomez. It's going to be fun.
Oh, he's got great stories.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hey, guys, you just listened to another episode of Fuck You Dad. If you could follow us on our Instagram, which is FCKYOUDAD podcast. That's the important one. We also have a Twitter account, which is FCKYOUDADPODCA1. If you could follow that. Also, please submit any father stories that you have that you'd like us to make fun of, laugh at, or share. Shoot that to our Instagram DMs. And if you could please go ahead and rate the podcast, share the podcast with your friends and family that might enjoy it, and keep listening. Thank you so much.